PS5 is getting more expensive again, and at this point it's not just annoying news, it's a signal that something is fundamentally broken in the gaming industry. The old rules used to be simple: a console launches expensive, then gets cheaper over time. That's how the market worked for decades. But now it's the opposite. It's been over 5 years and the PS5 costs more than it did at launch. And it's not just inflation. It's not even just AI. The price of your console is now being shaped by geopolitics, natural resources, and gas nobody talks about. And if you think this is temporary, I've got a bad news for you. This is new normal. Hi everyone, this is Alex, and I think it's time to stop taking headlines about AI and corporate greed as the absolute truth. It's time to look at the world map globally and look at the scale of what's actually happening. Starting from this April, the prices will look like this: $649 for the standard version, $599 for digital, and up to $899 for PS5 Pro. That's roughly 30% more than a year ago. But why? Used to be prices rose because of economics. Now they rise because of how the world is structured. Everyone will point the finger at the AI data centers again, and they are not going anywhere. They are still eating a massive share of the blame for rising hardware costs for both consoles and PC. Chip manufacturers are chasing the AI sector hard right now because that's where the insane money is. Eventually that bubble will either pop or slowly deflate, bringing back hardware prices back to something reasonable, but not yet. Inflation is obviously still a factor too, but if you only look at those two things, you're missing the full picture. Because there's a new problem making everything worse, and I think most people completely overlook it, even though it has a direct impact on what you're paying. The problem is helium, the element on the periodic table, the gas that you put in balloons. But it's not just for parties. Helium is used in lithography, cooling, purification, and creating ultra-clean environments for chip manufacturing. Without it, you cannot produce modern chips or memory. And here's where the chain of events begins, one that feeds directly into the PS5 price hikes. Qatar is one of the world's largest helium suppliers. About a third of global production comes from them. But this is the Middle East, and you know what's going on there right now. When people say games are outside politics or shouldn't be political, that's just noise. Games have always been tied to politics because politics shapes economic processes, and economic processes affect everything in our world, including games, studios, and corporations like Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo, and Valve, and every hardware manufacturer out there. Here's what The Guardian writes. Iran's attack last week on Qatar's natural gas export facility forced it to shut down, threatening supplies of helium, a key ingredient used to produce computer chips. Qatar supplies a third of the world's helium, according to the US Geological Survey. Qatar's state-owned gas company said last week the shutdown would slash helium exports by 14%. Lower supply means higher prices, especially if the war drags on for months or longer. What this means is simple. By raising the console's price, Sony is trying to protect its profit margin and offset rising production costs, which will inevitably lead to a drop in sales. But we're stuck in a loop. Constant price increases will eventually push the PS5 to a price point nobody will pay. That's the extreme scenario, but the direction is clear. And just to put numbers to it, November and December are the most critical months for any console maker. According to The Guardian, PS5 sales collapsed by 16% during that period in 2025. That's a serious hit, especially for Sony, which compared to Microsoft is actually a relatively small corporation. So that kind of drop hurts. Now let's talk the geography. Here's the Strait of Hormuz. Here's Qatar, where the helium is produced and shipped out to Taiwan for chip manufacturing. And here's Iran, which has been disrupting passage through the strait. Even without a full blockade, shipping in the region has become unstable and expensive. Now, Qatar is only 20 to 30% of the global helium market. The US is the largest producer, and Algeria rounds out the top three. But regardless, logistics for shipping helium to Taiwan, the global chip manufacturing hub, are getting more expensive across the board. Blocking the Strait of Hormuz doesn't stop the world, but it becomes yet another reason to raise the price of a PS5. It's not the main cause, but it's a new factor that nobody was accounting for before. And here's the obvious follow-up question. The Strait of Hormuz will stabilize eventually, so prices should drop back down, right? No, they won't. And here's why. During any crisis period, supply contracts get repriced, operational costs go up, and the entire system starts restructuring to adapt to the new reality. Sony has already baked future headroom into the current price increase. Rolling prices back a couple years from now means giving up profit, and the company simply won't take that risk. By then, the price will feel normal, even if it's objectively absurd, but nobody will be surprised anymore. And the broader market structure has changed over the past 6 years. Companies no longer want to sell consoles at a loss and make it back through software and services. Sony tried exactly that strategy under Jim Ryan, and we all saw how it went. Their live service games basically flopped. Sony wants to protect itself from those kinds of losses going forward. And here's something most people are completely missing. Sony's investors aren't panicking at all. Because right now, Sony is essentially filtering their audience. They're selling the console to people who actually have money to pay for it. And from a business standpoint, that could literally expand PS5 user base, not shrink it. Fewer broke buyers, more committed ones. Counterintuitive, I know, but that's the play. Now, how this holds up when PS6 rolls around? Honestly, I'm not even going to try to predict that. The real panic starts when the PS5 price becomes genuinely unhinged, or when PS6 drops at something like $3,000. And look, I'm just pulling this number out of thin air. It's a hypothetical. That's the moment when investors start sweating. That's when the calls start. That's when the strategy falls apart. Until then, they're probably going to be fine. In 2020, the gaming industry fully integrated into the global economic structure, and as part of that structure, it gets hit by global shocks. Sony is in a particularly tough spot right now. It doesn't have Nintendo's first-party IP depth. It doesn't have cloud structure and game streaming like Microsoft's xCloud. It doesn't have anywhere near the financial power. Its exclusive lineup has thinned out, partially because Sony started releasing games on Steam. And honestly, the innovation has slipped, storytelling has gotten weaker, and graphics alone don't move the needle anymore. The strategy of returning to exclusives makes sense on paper, but will fans actually come back? PC gaming now offers more than enough to fill the gap. Another price hike only accelerates the exodus, and even a GTA 6 bundle isn't going to fix the underlying problem. Closing studios like Bluepoint only makes the long-term outlook worse. This is going to be a brutal decade for the entire gaming entertainment sector, so take care of your consoles and PCs. Keep them alive, make them last. Hardware is only going to be more expensive from here. Thanks for watching to the end, subscribe and hit like if you enjoyed it. If you didn't, thanks anyway. Drop a comment below. How are you feeling this crisis in the gaming industry? Is it hitting your wallet yet? See ya.